Okay, so we all know that touch is like, well, it's powerful, right?
Yeah.
And like, especially when we're talking about, love and all that. But today we're gonna kind of go a little deeper
Mm-hmm.
than just, your typical hugs and holding
Yeah.
hands. We're really gonna dive into Gary Chapman's The Five Love Languages,
Yes.
specifically taking a closer look at physical touch as a love language.
And I bet some people are thinking like, oh, come on, I know this one already.
Right.
But Chapman, he really goes beyond just the basics. He actually shows how touch can be.
Oh, yeah.
It's way more nuanced
Sure.
and complex than we think.
It's not just a quick pat on the back
Oh,
or,
yeah.
a quick hand squeeze. For some people, this is it.
Yes.
This is the way they feel loved.
Absolutely.
And they feel connected to another person.
It's their primary language.
Yeah.
Right.
And, Chapman, he even tells this story about this couple,
Oh, yeah.
Pete and Patsy, and they were struggling in their
Yeah.
marriage, even though
They had a lot in common.
they had tons in common.
On paper, perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, and so what's so interesting about their story is that, it wasn't that they didn't love each other.
Right.
It was how they were expressing
Yeah. It was,
and experiencing that love. It was
Yeah.
totally different.
yes. Different dialects.
Yeah. Patsy felt like Pete was just so distant, always working late or on the computer.
Right.
And Pete, on the other hand,
Mhm.
he felt unloved, unattractive, because Patsy wasn't initiating, that physical touch as much as he needed.
Yes.
And come to find out, physical touch was Pete's primary love language.
It was.
But for Patsy, it was quality time.
Yes.
So they were both showing love, but they just weren't speaking the same language.
They weren't speaking the same language. And that's where this whole idea of love language is just, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It helps us understand that
Oh, for sure.
what feels loving to me may not feel
Yeah.
loving to you at all.
So-
And that can really lead to like
Oh, yeah.
tension and disconnection.
Huge problems in a relationship.
Absolutely.
It just makes you think about all the different ways that we can express love.
Right.
Through touch, and how those expressions, they can be interpreted so differently by the other person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Chapman makes it very clear that
Yeah.
while physical touch is a core love language, it's
Right.
not all about sex.
Right. Right. He actually
He
says,
really emphasizes that.
yes, he says that sex is one dialect
Yeah.
of the physical touch language.
Mhm.
There's a whole spectrum
Oh, for sure.
of touch that communicates love,
Yeah.
like a gentle caress or even just a playful nudge.
What's funny is the book actually mentions that not all touch
Oh, yeah.
feels the same. And I was really curious
Wow.
about the science behind that. Like,
Right.
why is it that, a hug from somebody you love feels so different than like accidentally bumping into someone on the street?
Yeah. 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 No, it's fascinating. It really has to do with how our brains interpret the touch. So we have these receptors in our skin called tactile receptors, and they send different signals to our brains
Oh, wow.
depending on the type of touch we're experiencing. So a gentle, loving touch releases all sorts of hormones, including this one called oxytocin, which, they call it the cuddle hormone
I've heard of that.
because it makes you feel all those feelings of bonding and connection.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a warm bath of chemicals.
That explains why a hug from somebody you care about it really can calm you down.
Right. It reduces your stress.
Yeah.
But then, on the other hand, if you have a rough touch or, a touch that's unwelcome,
Right.
that actually triggers a whole cascade of stress hormones. And it can make you feel really anxious
Uh-huh.
and on edge. So, it's not just about the physical sensation.
Yeah.
It's about the emotional meaning we attach to it.
And like you said, it depends on the person and the context of the situation. That makes me think about how important it is to be mindful of how we touch others, even in small ways, like, a pat on the back. It could feel so supportive to one person, but then intrusive to somebody else.
That's such a good point. And it really highlights why we need clear communication
Oh, yeah.
in all relationships, but especially when it comes to physical touch.
For sure.
Because what feels good to one person, again, may not feel good to another.
Right.
And respecting boundaries is absolutely crucial.
Totally. I know some people are just super sensitive to
Yeah.
even a light touch. And some people need a lot of pressure
Right.
to really feel it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So knowing your own preferences and then of course the preferences of your partner
Yeah.
is so important.
It's huge. It can make such a difference
Yeah.
in how you give and receive love.
So it's not just about touching more.
No, it's about being
It's about the intention behind it
intentional. Yes, exactly.
and understanding where they're coming from, And making sure that what you're doing, the way you're touching, is sending the message
Right.
that you really want it to send.
You want to send. And, going back to Pete and Patsy, what was so valuable about their story was that they learned they had to speak each other's love language. They couldn't just assume that their way of expressing love was the right way or the only way.
Right, right. And that, to me, it's almost like learning a whole new way
It is.
to communicate, you know?
It is. It's like learning a new language.
And I bet there are all sorts of touch dialects that we might not even be aware of.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there are. Do you want to explore some of those dialects?
I'd love to.
Okay, great. So Chapman actually breaks physical touch down into
Oh, cool.
several different categories.
Okay.
And they each speak to a specific need
Okay.
or a desire.
Yeah.
And we have things like nurturing touch, playful touch, sensual touch, and they each have their own unique power to communicate love and affection.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating, how we express like all these different emotions through touch.
Yeah,
So take
yeah.
nurturing touch. Like this is the kind of touch that we associate with
Yeah.
comfort and care.
Yeah, like a hug from a parent when you're feeling down.
Right.
Or maybe just a hand on your back
Uh-huh.
when you're going through something,
Yes.
you know?
It's almost instinctive, isn't it? Like when a friend's upset,
Yeah,
we just want to put our hand on their shoulder
totally.
or give them a hug.
Yeah, it's like automatic, you know?
Right. And it's actually got this like deep evolutionary basis.
Oh, wow.
Touch is like essential for our survival,
Really?
especially as little kids. Is how babies bond with their caregivers.
Oh, yeah.
It's how they learn to regulate their emotions. It's how they develop that feeling
Yeah.
of safety and security in the world.
And I bet that need for, like, that nurturing touch, I mean, that doesn't just disappear.
Oh, no.
When we get older. Right?
No, not at all. In fact, we crave it.
Yeah, I can see that.
We really do. And
Yeah.
and you know what? It's not just in our romantic relationships.
Right, right.
We experience that in our friendships, our family, even, at work.
Oh, for sure.
Think about, like, a handshake, when it conveys that real warmth and sincerity.
Totally.
Or maybe you get a pat on the back from a coworker after you did something good.
Right, right.
All of these, even those little gestures,
Yeah.
they can have a really big impact
Okay.
on how we feel
Mm-hmm.
and just our well-being.
It's not just the big stuff, it's the little things, too. And that makes me think about what Chapman said about playful touch.
Oh, yeah, playful touch. It seems like
Totally different category.
yeah, different category.
Playful touch is all about,
Yeah.
fun and lightheartedness.
It's like tickling your siblings.
Right. Exactly. It's like a high five with your teammates.
Yeah.
That little nudge from your friend when they're teasing you.
I like that.
It's just a way to express joy.
Yeah.
That connection.
Yeah.
And just a shared sense of humor.
And it's got to be super important in like romantic relationships too.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping things fun.
Absolutely, because it keeps things light.
Right.
And it just, keeps that spark alive.
What about sensual touch?
Ooh, sensual touch.
Yeah, I feel like that's a
That's a little trickier.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely more intimate, right?
Yeah.
It's often associated with romance and sex,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always have to lead to sex.
Right. Okay.
It's about exploring that pleasure and intimacy
Okay.
through touch.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a long kiss or a massage or even just holding each other close.
So it's about like being present in those moments.
Yes, exactly. It's about savoring them
Yeah.
and really appreciating how touch can create that intimacy and desire.
It just seems like there are so many possibilities when we're talking about touch.
Oh, there are. There are.
Which makes me think about Pete and Patsy again.
Yeah.
Like they had different primary love languages, but they could learn to speak each other's, right?
Yes.
But how does that work in real life? Like I get the concept, but
Right, right.
how do you actually start incorporating the right kind of touch into your relationship?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does take intention
Yeah.
and effort, but the rewards are huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Chapman, he suggests setting aside time for touch,
Like what?
like actually scheduling it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a nightly cuddle session. Maybe it's a weekend massage ritual. The point is, you got to make it a priority. Make it something that you both look forward to.
So it's not just about like those little random moments.
Yeah.
It's about making touch a part of your routine.
Exactly. But it's not about quantity.
Right.
It's about quality. Even a small gesture, if it's done with intention, with awareness,
Yeah.
it can have a huge impact. Like something as simple as holding hands when you're walking or just reaching out to touch your partner's arm when you're sitting next to them.
It's like those implicit touches we talked about, just
Yeah.
those small ways of saying, hey, I'm here.
Exactly. I see you. And the beauty is you can weave them into
Yeah.
your everyday interactions. They don't require much time,
Right.
and they don't require much effort, but they make a world of difference
Yeah.
in building that feeling of closeness. But it is important to remember
Yeah.
that not everyone's equally comfortable with touch.
Oh, right.
You know, some people are just naturally more touch averse,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
So how do you deal with that in a relationship? Like, what if one person's like craving all the touch and
Right.
the other one's like, back off?
Right. Well, that's when clear communication, honesty,
Yeah.
that becomes essential.
Yeah.
You have to be able to express your needs,
Totally.
your preferences, without judgment,
Hmm.
and be willing to listen and compromise.
So it's not about forcing someone to be more touchy-feely if they don't want to be.
Oh.
It's about finding that way.
Right. It's finding that balance.
Yeah.
Finding a way to show love that feels good for both people.
Exactly.
And it might take some trial and error
Sure.
to figure out what works best for your
Yeah.
relationship, but it's so worth it. Learning to speak each other's touch dialect
Yeah.
really can deepen that connection,
Yeah.
foster intimacy,
Yeah.
and just make the relationship
more fulfilling, more loving.
more fulfilling, more loving, more connected.
Wow. It's amazing, how much we can actually say
I know, right?
just through touch.
Yeah.
And we've covered like the science behind it, the different ways we can touch,
Right.
and even how it can be, totally misinterpreted.
Yeah,
It really makes you stop and think about your own touch profile.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and like how you like to give and receive affection.
Definitely. And, that's one of the things that I find so valuable about Chapman's work is that he really encourages us to be more self-aware and recognize that what we like, it might not be the same for everyone else.
Totally.
What feels loving to us might not feel loving to our partner or our friends or...
Right, and it's like Pete and Patsy, again, they thought they were showing love, but they were speaking totally different languages.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until they learned about the 5 love languages that they were able to figure that out
Yeah.
and really bridge that gap.
So they could connect.
Connect. Yeah.
But even within, like, the same love language, there's still those nuances.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Like we said, not all touch is created equal.
Right. And that's something that Chapman really emphasizes. Physical touch, just like any other form of communication, it can be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
He even talks about sexual harassment as an example.
Oh, right.
And it really shows how touch can be used to hurt and to disrespect.
Yeah, that's a good point. It brings up, like, boundaries and consent. Even in a, loving, committed relationship, we've got to be aware of our partner's comfort levels and make sure that our touch is always welcome and appropriate.
For sure. And it's not just asking directly, it's also paying attention to their body language.
Yeah, picking up on those nonverbal cues.
Exactly. And being willing to adjust our behavior,
Yeah.
even if they don't say anything.
Right, right. Okay, so as we kind of start wrapping up our deep dive
Okay.
into physical touch as this love language, what's the most important thing you want listeners to take away?
I think the main thing is this. Touch is really powerful. And it can build us up or it can, tear us down.
Oh, yeah.
So it's up to us to use it wisely
And lovingly.
and lovingly. You got it.
Yeah.
And that means being self-aware, understanding our partner's needs,
Yeah.
and making sure that we communicate in a way that feels safe and respectful.
So basically making touch a conscious part of our relationships.
Exactly. Not just something we do without thinking.
Right, right. And as we get better at understanding all those little nuances of touch,
Yes.
we can really connect on a
Very
deeper
mental.
level
Uh-huh.
and have those fulfilling relationships that we all want.
That we all want. And just remember, it's a process.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. We're always learning. We're always growing.
And we're always figuring out how to love better.
That's it. That's the goal.